for civil as well as military aircraft. Brigadier General Bastola graduated from the Aeronautical Society of India in 1995 with a bachelor's degree in aeronautical engineering, and in 2009 received a master's degree in management from Toulouse Business School. He completed his business research from the School of Management, Kathmandu University, in 2020. So for today, uh, Brigadier General Bastola will be presenting the findings from his research on the role of aviation leaders and the leadership styles in aviation safety. Also, he will put forward his recommendation on adopting the most efficient management style to reduce air accidents. So without much ado, let us give the center stage to Brigadier General Dipak Bastola. Bastola, sir, the stage is all yours.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Usab Sharma and the entire team of Aeronautical Society of Nepal. Once again, thank you for your kind um, consideration towards me and invitation for this wonderful webinar. So without losing some more time, I am going to my presentation directly. And we will start our discussion session after completion of this presentation. I think now you can see my presentation in your screen. Did you see my presentation in your screen?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay, then as per our schedule, today webinar topic is leadership. That is especially leadership style and aviation safety. So now, no need of my introduction. I will provide this slide to you, so you will get and download from our website. The presentation sequence will be first I will cover the leadership role in a human factors and safety management system, and then organizational accident, what we mean, what we understand from the organizational accidents, and then leadership in an organization, aviation leadership. Then I will bring forward some leadership and aviation safety research findings, and lastly, conclusion and question and discussion. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, airlines means airlines or any aviation industries means there are several components. As you see in the slide, there are some employees, and that airlines will consume mineral resources, services, and we also want to earn some money, or our aim is providing service to the customer, so customer is needed, and then logistics support for the airlines. These are the components, and employees. Under this employees leadership and other issues will be today we are going to focus. So in this slide you can see one gentleman is working, and all the others higher level executives, supervisor, engineer, senior officer, specialist, executive, manager, MD, HOD, CEO, and chief operating officers. So many people they are watching, and only one single employee is working, top heavy. And this is not the good leadership style. I just forwarded this slide because a lot of people are, this is the top heavy condition. This is not good leadership style. And you can see in this slide why leadership is leader is required in an organization. And it's a symbolic pictorial view. You can see we all know the vector diagram. The vector direction is in different ways. The resultant will be 0 in the first figure, And perfect team learning, or when the alignment of the vector is in one directions, then output of the organization can be achieved. So that is the symbolic meaning of this. And to achieve perfect team learning, or to get more output, any organization need the leader. And here you can see, if there is no leader or there is no teamwork, there is no good leadership, then you can see this is the symbolic representation. And this two donkey, they are just trying to eat this grass, and they could not achieve, and then they just decided to finish one bucket first, and then next one, and they can do that one. So this is the era of teamwork and leadership, and to achieve more teamwork or team climate, we need a leadership. And yesterday we discussed about the boss and leader, or manager and leader. See the difference between the leader and boss. And we have to distinguish the who is boss, who is leader. And a boss, when he achieves something, he forget his follower. And the leader, when he achieves something, he will pull his follower to his position. So left side, you can see boss is jumping over the mountain, and he never bother about the follower. And the right side, you can see the leader, poor leader is pulling his follower upward. So leader and manager also same thing. Leader do the right thing, and manager do things right. These are the fundamental difference between the leader and manager, and we should not be confused, because today we are more focused on the leader, because we are relating leadership style to the aviation safety later on. So this is, I will show you one slide of management dilemma. You can see left side is resources protection, and the right side is resources production. Take an example of an airlines. If airlines decided to keep their aircraft in the hangar without flying, they can achieve more safety, but the productivity is zero, and later on they have to face the bankruptcy. So there should be a perfect balance between protection and production, and only the leader can do this. And if you see, if leader focus only the production, forgetting his junior staff and his safety and other issue, then catastrophe incident may happen, is shown in the slide. But in other way, if they focus only the protection, and then the bankruptcy can take place in the future, because they never bother about the production. So who can balance this? The leadership of the organization can balance this dilemma. So now, what leader do? What leader do his follower? And he can affect the various factors of the employees. And there are so many factors that can affect us. And in our Eastern context, even 1008 factors. That's why our Swamiji, they call themselves 1008 Swami Guru or something like that. That means they are out of 1008 factors, and these factors can't affect them. So, but we are human. We are not Swami Ji or any other like Buddha. So external factor can affect us very badly, and that ultimately affect our organization. So leadership role in human factor is very vital in aviation organization. And that's why the various regulating body, ESA, FA, and even our CAN, they define human factor in different way. But anything that affects a human being is in his or her performance is a human factors. And leadership style can affect the human factors. And in this slide, you can see so many accidents happened in Nepal in the recent year. That Bangala Air, that Turkish Air, and so many helicopters and twin-otter aircraft in Jomsom. You can see in the slide. And all these aircraft uh, accident takes place in Nepal uh, because of a lot of human factors. And that human factors is somehow related with the leadership. That is the findings from the Aircraft Accident Investigation Commission too. So today we are going to relate such accidents or incident in the leadership context, because so far we blame the pilot, we blame the poor engineer or mechanics, we blame the technology, but now it's a high time, and always we can't blame them, because the leadership is the one who decided to employ his pilot, leadership is the one who decided to employ his engineer, leadership is the one who decided or recruit his mechanics. So if something wrong from the pilots, if some mistake made or will do from the pilot side, then it is the effect, it is the defect from the leadership itself, not we can't blame the individual. So in this context now, ICAO or even our various regulating body, they started uh, analyzing the human factor in a different ways. And one of these human factor analysis highlighted that four primary pillar of the human factors. One is organization, another is supervision, another is precondition of unsafe act, and then the unsafe act from the pilots or engineer. Maybe it is from the pilots' errors or violations, or violation also routine or exceptional. So organization itself is the major source of any error or mistake. So organizations is the root cause of any factors. So after organization, leadership. Organization means leadership and other subordinating staff, because organization cannot survive in the vacuum. So it needs some support internally and externally, and it have to interact with the society, interact with the other part of the globe, because aviation industry is a global industry, and we can't survive in our local environment only, because our communication should be with the manufacturer or supplier, vendors, and so on. So this organizational leadership component is very high in the context of human factors, and of course supervisory role is also important. You can see this slide, and if you have queries, you just note down and you can ask me at the end of this presentation in our question and discussion session. And in organization factors, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, there are concept of 6 concept: money, management, man, mission, medium, machine. All these things are source of organizational factors or human factors. And man, of course, management is more concerned about the junior management, senior management, or leaderships. So this framework also important in organizational factors. And as I mentioned earlier, organization is source of any error, mistake, or everything. That's why now we never call aircraft accident. It is an organizational accident. If X Airlines aircraft made an accident, we say X air organization is failed. So management decision, organization process, all takes place in organization itself, and that could be the source of error. And workplace, of course, workplace also can add some source of error and mistakes, and even people, error and violations from the people side. People means mainly the pilots, engineers, ground staffs can aid some mistake or error. And if such error and mistake penetrate in different level and that could not identified or captured by the defense of safety defense. Mainly technology, training and regulation are the safety defense. Some aircrafts or some organization adopted some technology to enhance safety. For example, in some fixed-wing aircraft, when they are in certain speed range and they didn't lower their landing gear, then their joystick or their control is shaking or giving some oral warning, or even you can consider your auto itself. If you put not you are not putting your seat belt, then some sound or irritation, some noise will come um, to give something is wrong. So technology are now developed from the various manufacturer to prevent such error or mistake, or they are trying to reduce such error and mistake and capture that. And the training, of course, training is the backbone of anything, and training is the very effective tools of safety, defense, and regulations. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, if we travel to Singapore, we are very careful to drop any wastage in the road or outside. But in Nepal, we never bother because regulation is very poor. So regulation is also uh, own and very important form of safety defense. So we never know how many pilots, how many engineers are punished because of violations so far. Hardly one or two. That is also grounded for 1 month, 2 months. That is not sufficient. So regulations should be tight. That's why we are blacklisted from the European Union, and even that blacklist is not lifted so far because of our poor regulation. So these three defense layer should be improved in the Nepalese context. And if this defense is punctured by any means, then accident or incident takes place. So from this slide, we clearly understand that organization is the source of any form of error and mistake, and the leadership is the one who we have to blame if something happened in his organization. So leadership in an organization, and from the earlier slide, we come to know that organization is source of any error or mistake. And in the leadership in an organization, because I am highlighting these three fundamental traits of the leadership, because there are thousands of traits of leadership, because so far even leadership is not defined well, because it is work on progress. No single definition of leadership exists in this universe, because it is a vague subject. But from my experience, last 30 years of experience, leadership from the general organization like hospital, bank, or other college or any other sector is different from the aviation leaders. And aviation leaders should be trustworthy. In aviations, leader can't cheat like others leader. I don't want to mention other leader who can cheat, but nothing can happen. But in the aviation context, a leader should be very trustworthy. Whatever he think in his mind, he should speak the same and he should act the same. That is the trustworthy leader. And sound aviation knowledge. And some organization is functioning well, even the leadership is from the different background, not from the aviation, but leadership, if you have a sound aviation knowledge, it is very easy to run the organizations, and of course it is better than without knowledge. So communication is key, because we have to communicate to the international level, and we have to communicate to the national level in the various state craft. We have to communicate. So aviation is a different world inside this world. So communication skill of the leadership is very vital in the context of aviation. So communication, ladies and gentlemen, you can see in the slide, said does not mean heard. What I said now does not mean whether you have heard it or not, whether internet connection is good in your home or not, I don't know. And if you hear does not mean you understood. I don't know. But if you understood also does not mean you agreed. You have a different perception. And if you agreed does not mean retained. And if you retain does not mean applied. So you can see the communication means said to applied. What I said now, if you are going to apply it in your future, then only the communication is complete. So the communication, this chain should be monitored by the leadership. Leadership always need to follow his directives in his organization. And when he said something to his follower, he have to monitor and he have to cross check up to the application or that is the applied condition. So communication is very vital for the leadership, especially for in the context of aviation. And in this slide, ladies and gentlemen, you can see various organizations interrelated and interconnected. And this is world is full of organization now. Without Google Meet, we can't connect. Without internet, without other devices, computers, without our telephone, we are unable to connect. So a lot of organizations are involved. So highly interrelated and interdependent. An organization is cannot exist like the traditional way. So our survival and growth lies on the capacity to manage this interrelationship. So, gentlemen, in this context, I just quote the statement from the our neighboring country Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. He mentioned relationship rule the world, and that is very true. Now relationship rule the world, and aviation leader should be very dynamic, and he need to connect all the related organization to get more benefit and to operate his organization. So now just have a look with this leadership, how leadership is emerged from the ancient era. I just bring some perspective from the 1950. During 1950, those gentlemen, especially gentlemen who have a very big nose or very muscle and height, looks very handsome, considered as a leader. And there is no other way of choosing the leader. And then the perspective of leader changed in 1917, behavior, how leader behave. And then only the people consider he is a leader or not. Situational perspective, and some situation emerged the leadership. And then 1990 people are more concerned about value of the organization. Who give the more value to the organization can become a leader, like that. And some people 1990 also talk about the cultural perspective of the leader, and cultural leader in the Japanese context is more successful. Those leaders who is culturally very rich are more successful during the era of 1990. And like even our kingship also culturally based in the Nepalese context. And spiritual perspective, scientific management perspective, excellent management perspective, and ladies and gentlemen, what will be the leadership perspective in the coming 2030 or 2050? Definitely, the leadership as a technical leader will be the future leader, because without knowing knowledge of the technology, nobody can lead this world. And even aviation, we can't predict that the general people can lead the aviation organization, because it is very complicated. Only the technical people can lead, and a future leadership from the technical background will be the leader in aviation. So leadership decisions and the leadership, why leader is required, because day-to-day life also, when we visit in the vegetable market, we have various choices and we have to make a decision. And leadership, we have to become a leader of at home. We have to practicing our leadership style in the day-to-day shop or restaurant, choosing the food and everything. So leadership qualities of taking decision is more important in the context of aviation. And aviation leadership, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just focusing on the leadership, and then I will come back to our core subject later on, just giving this preliminary information to you to orient you in the leadership and our thinking pattern, our system thinking. When I am able to make our thinking pattern is in the same grid, then I will enter the today's topic. So aviation leadership. Why I am talking about aviation leadership? Not like a general leadership, not like a branch manager of the certain bank or hospital. Aviation leadership should be very much flexible. It should be very flexible. Fast decision making abilities. If one aircraft is grounded in Hong Kong, you need to order some parts. So you have to take fast decision. You can't take a week. But in general organization like bank, hospital, others, they can take 2 weeks to take a decision. But in aviation leadership, no. You have to take instant decision. So such capability should be there for aviation leadership. And knowledge of technical field. Of course, without knowledge of technical field, nobody can take a good decision in very fast. Leadership style that suit the aviation, and we'll focus on this leadership style that suit the aviation. Leadership style means how leader is interacting his follower or senior is a style, method, how he interact with his employees is a style. And that suit the aviation. I will recommend this one of the leadership styles, because there are several leadership styles in management domain, but we'll choose the best leadership style for the aviation sector. And influencing character, because nobody can lead the organization by putting the stick in the follower head. We have to influence them to do something better. Serious about aviation safety, because if some incident happen, then we call it is not the aircraft accident now, it is the accident of organization. If organization is a accident took place, then it's cost a lot of human life and lot of it involved lot of economical cost. And a crisis manager, if something happen, he should act like a crisis manager, like a mega earthquake event. If when the accident took place in Turkish uh, airlines recently, the Turkish manager in Kathmandu base station have to work like a crisis manager. Calculated risk. Of course, aviation leader should take some risk. And net worker, as I already mentioned, aviation leader not only um, concerned about the domestic environment, he have to contact the external environment, mainly the outside the country. That he need a networker capabilities. And leadership in aviation safety, uh, ladies and gentlemen, I had published one article in Journal of Air Transport Studies, Volume 11, Issue 1, 2020, and I would like to quote that the recent aviation accident report has also pointed to the management failure to prevent air accident in the most aviation accident. Bastola myself in 2020. So you can go through that journal and you can download and you can read that more content about this leadership style and this aviation safety in your own time. And in that journal, again, I would like to quote that because it's already published research report. 300 participants from 10 different airlines of Nepal participated, and I have used two set of questionnaire, MLQ developed by Bass and Abilo 1997, and Nordic Safety Climate Questionnaire 50 developed by the Nordic Network of Occupational Safety Research, but that is not designed for aviation. I modified to suit the aviation industry, and you can see in the right portion, I mainly research in a three domain of the leadership style: transactional leadership style, transformational leadership style, and laissez-faire leadership style. Ladies and gentlemen, transactional leadership style means leader is just leading the organization by means of transaction, reward, punishment. Okay, gentlemen, if you complete this job, I will give you something. Or to get some opportunity, you have to give to me such certain award or a souvenir or something like that. So transactional mentality that mainly concern about contingent reward, management by exception, and managed by the expression passive. So these three key factor of transactional leadership also monitor by means of MLQ. And transformational leadership style means influencing, mainly influencing inspirational motivation and intellectual stimulation, individual consideration. 4-5 character of transformational leadership style also studied. And laissez-faire leadership style means the leadership is based on the follower, recommendation. Leader, any act of the leader is based with the follower. This type of leadership is somehow is running in some of the organization, but it is very poor in the situation of crisis. And laissez-faire leadership style is not suitable as per the leader research finding of mine in this research report. And leadership styles, there are so many leadership styles, because as per my time constant, I only focus on three major leadership styles, but there are so many leadership styles: autocratic style, facilitating style, democratic style, coaching style, affiliative style, autocratic leadership style, bureaucratics, distributed leadership style, laissez-faire, paternalistic leadership style. I think in Nepal, mainly airlines are paternalistic, and they have a heredity, dynasty type of leadership style, like our kingship. So leadership style is a leader's method of providing direction, implementing plans, and motivating people. Various authors have proposed identifying many different leadership styles as exhibited by leaders in the political, business, or other field. So various leaders, but mainly I have grouped in three main type, and I have given so many code: leader 1, leader 2, leader 3, leader 4, leader 5. You can go through the article. It is available PDF version in the website, Journal of Air Transport Studies, Volume 11, Issue 1, 2020, Bastola 2020. So transactional also I have given leadership 6, leader 7, leader 8. And non-transactional leadership styles also given leader 9, 10, 11, 12. Total 3 major type and 12 different characters. And in safety also I have divided 7 climate parameter. First is management safety priority. How management is giving priority to the safety is safety 1. Management safety empowerment, whether a leader or management is empowering the employee to do better in safety or not. Such questions are asked in this framework. And like this, management safety justice, worker safety commitment, worker safety priority and risk non-acceptance, safety communication, learning and trust in safety ability, worker trust in the efficacy of safety system. So altogether safety 1 to safety 7. So research questions. My research question was, to what extent does an organization leadership style, transactional, transformational, or non-transactional, correlate with the aviation safety climate in aviation industries? And which leadership styles correlate with the higher safety climate? And which individual factor of leadership styles are highly correlated with the aviation safety climate? These are the three. And my research finding also indicate that leadership style used in these three types. I have done research in government, private, and semi-private organization. In Nepal, has three different safety climate scores. It was found that transformational leadership has a higher safety climate score of 2.8 in private aviation organizations. Out of 4, 2.8, which in turn scored 24.38 points in safety climates. Similarly, the government organization scored 18.72 and semi-government organization scored only 17.49, which were less compared to other two leadership styles. So no Nepalese Airlines organization achieve a high safety score level as per the requirement. To determine if the leadership style is associated with the safety climate score, the scoring was grouped into three ranges: 15 to 19 low safety, 20 to 24 medium safety, and 25 to 28 high safety. And no Nepalese airlines crossed the high safety level, that is 25 to 28. One airlines reach up to 24, that is medium safety. So there are various room to improve the safety in the context of Nepal. It was found that government organization has a slightly better safety climate than the semi-government aviation organization. Likewise, the transformational leadership style is better for achieving the highest safety climate score than transactional leadership. And however, the laissez-faire leadership style is not perceptible in all three aviation organizations in Nepal. So, to achieve more safety in aviation, the transformation leadership style, that is influencing like a magnet. We have to influence the employees. We can't beat their head by the stick. We have to influence. We have to encourage them to do something new in their organization. So this transformation leadership style can achieve more safety. That can reduce air accident or incident. That can increase the productivity of the organization. That is the research finding. And you can see I have done this by using SPSS, and as I mentioned earlier, leader 1 to leader 12, that is 1 to 5 is transformational, 6 to 8 is transactional, and then 9 to 12 is laissez-faire leadership style. So you can see the coefficient itself indicate that negative correlations at the level of leader 8 and 9, that indicate that the transactional leadership style is not fruitful in aviation organization, and that is the research finding from the Nepalese aviation industries, which yes, and this transactional leadership styles is negative correlation. So if uh, we want to achieve more safety in our organization, we have to practice leadership 1 to 5. That is nothing. That is the transformational leadership. That is transformational leadership is nothing. It is an influential type of leadership. What we use it our day-to-day life at home. What father is doing his children, how he motivate his children to become like him, even better than him. So how mom is grooming her son or daughter at home. That is the transformational, and that is applicable in the aviation industry too. So you can see the score safety 1 to up to 12 here, and the later on leader 8, 9, 10 have a very low mean. That means the safety score is also not as per the required level. Out of 4, only 2.82 in aggregate. That is not good. At least we have to cross 3 to achieve more safety level. So there are a lot of room of improvement, and the transactional leadership style and laissez-faire leadership style have very low mean. You can mathematically, it is proven that these two type of leadership style is not suitable in the context of aviation industry, and some of the aviation industry is practicing transactional leadership in the context of Nepal. So as a academic ethics, I should not mention which airlines have the transactional type of leadership styles, but some airlines have the transactional mentality in their leadership styles. They never practice the leadership for the institutional overall growth. They have a business mentality. They use their leadership style to earn money. That is the main issue in the context of Nepal. That is also another finding of this research. So research finding, management by exception, passive and laissez-faire behavior of leadership have a negative correlation, which I just mentioned, to most of the leadership style factors. In contrast, contingent reward and management by exception have a positive correlation to the leadership styles or leadership factors. Out of 5 transformation leadership factor, intellectual stimulation and individualized consideration. That means if leadership gave the morale to the follower, then their climate is better, and ultimately they can achieve more safety. And individualized consideration means leader should monitor their follower and their need, and the leader need to support their follower continuously. They have to monitor their follower in the organization. So if transformational leadership style also two, these two sector is more correlation with the aviation safety. Intellectual stimulation and individualized consideration have a higher correlation with the safety. Therefore, all aviation leaders can prefer these two factors of transformation leadership to improve the safety level. This is a significant finding of the empirical research, which could be valuable knowledge in the leadership, especially in the aviation context. And conclusion, leadership has a high degree of correlation with aviation safety. Transformational leadership has a higher aviation safety in the organization. Leadership role in the aviation safety cannot be neglected. And so far, when accident or incident took place in the past, we always blame that poor pilot, engineer, mechanics, or even the technology, or even the manufacturer. That is not applicable now. Now we have to bring, and we have to bring forward the leadership style and the leadership role in that particular accident or incident. So conclusion, this webinar is very first webinar which has highlighted aviation leadership styles and safety climate. It is also very first of such nature as for the author knowledge, myself, and will have a high impact on academic and aviation management to improve aviation safety, which in turn will give higher financial and economic value of the aviation organization. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open for question and discussion. I'm here to answer your queries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dipak sir, for your very wonderful and insightful presentation on the relationship between aviation safety and leadership. And yes, indeed, a leader is the one who knows the way and shows the way, as said by John Maxwell. So, by that being said, let's move on to the questionnaire session. So, all the participants of today's webinar are kindly requested to write your questions at the chat box so we can address them one at a time. So, yeah, but for now, our first question we have is from Mr. M. Kumar Dahal, and he asks the question on how we can identify leadership styles. So, Bastola sir, how can we identify
Yes.
the types of leadership?
There are so many tools to the leadership styles, and that the MLQ, developed by BAS and um, BAS in 1994. There are so many tools. It is a psychological type of questionnaire, and it have 45. And after decoding that questions, individual researcher or author can identify which type of leadership style he have. So people further name, I can say I am a very generic leader. I am a very transformative leader. But if while answering the questions, I may be autocrat or I may be dictator because I am from the military background. So it is all psychological taste, and individual can be identified which type of leadership style he have. So there are so many, even sometimes it is very expensive to test the leadership style, and there is questions developed by the Oxford University and others. You can purchase it in a 300 pound or something like that, and you can test yourself what type of people you are, whether you have a transformative style or transactional style or other type of style. And even you can test what type of people you are, whether you are managerial, whether you are time sensitive, whether you are support type of people, whether you are network people. And in a very developed country, people will test himself like हामी कहाँ ज्योतिष कहाँ जाने भने जस्तो they will test themselves before joining the various organization. So there are a lot of tools, so you can explore it.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, second question we have from Mr. Bikalpa Guru. Are there any guidelines in adopting this transformational style of leadership?
Yes, of course. There are fundamentally five different characteristics of leaderships, transformational leadership, mainly the influencing character, and you have to develop influencing, and there are a lot of tactics of influencing, like general management tactics, like day to day. We can use that tactics like paging the other your follower. Oh, you look so smart today, or oh, you are so happy, like that. You just can influence your follower. If you are a CEO of your organization and you just comment your junior like, oh, you look so smart today, means that the follower will enter his working cabin and very smiley he start his work, and he will perform better than yesterday because today he is very happy and he receives such a comment from his CEO on the way. And that has a lot of tactics, and some tactics like one very bitter tactics is political tactics, and that is not recommended. Otherwise, all the tactics, there are so many, five, six tactics are there. Sometimes ecological tactics are also there. If you are CEO and you have a coffee machine nearby, you have a very good magazine, you can invite your follower to your room, and they can use their air condition, and they can spend 5-10 minutes, can have a coffee with you, and that is an influencing tactics you can apply day-to-day basis. So we have to explore, and we have to learn more tactics to influence, and we have to develop our leadership, because I did a research on leadership, and I found that leader are not born. But yes, there are some genetic connection, some effect from genetic or blood heredity also there. But we can develop the leadership by education and various practice.
Okay, thank you, sir. I hope, Mr. Bikalpa, your question has been answered. So, next question we have is from Mr. Saroj Thapa, and he would like to ask you first. He thanks you on your valuable insight and knowledge, and he would like to ask you, as an expert and also a member of lots of accident investigation, what is your experience about leadership role in the kind of accidents that we have in Nepal? Assume he's asking about the aviation accidents. So what are the roles
Yes.
identified? Yes, sir.
mm, uh, I I have participated more than five civil helicopter and aircraft crash investigation commission as an expert or a member of the commission. And similarly, I also participated more than five times as a commission member in a military aircraft accident in our Army Aviation too. So I have a very sound knowledge of home ground aircraft accident, and I realized and our finding also identified and mentioned the leadership connection in the aircraft accident in the context of Nepal. And like take an example, if leadership is giving pressure to perform, uh, insist to fly in the bad weathers to generate more money or something like that, then so certainly um, the pressure will come to the crew and that transport to the cabin, and uh, they are compelled to perform extra and beyond the safety limit. So such pressures also identified in the context of Nepal, and some aircraft are flown with a very minor snag, some flown with a major snag, and later afternoon they met an accident. So role of leadership in the context of Nepal is very high, and that's why ICAO emphasize to perform crew resource management for the leadership to understand the difficulties of the crew. So leadership role cannot be neglected in the context of Nepal, and because our leader is not from outsider, they are the investor. When you invest money in an organization, you are a businessman. You are not the real leader of that organization. That's why the banking sector also, if you have a higher investment in the bank, you could not become a CEO. That is the rule just came last 2 years back from the Nepal Rashtra Bank. Likewise, the Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal also started making the aviation policy, and they are trying to formulate the leader, independent leader, unbiased leader from the outsider, not the investor. If you are the investor, you should not be a good CEO because your influence towards money, not to the safety and other issues. So that is in the Nepalese context. I think we have to isolate the investor from the leadership role.
Thank you, sir. To next, well, we have lots of active participants here today, so we have lots of questions. So next question we have from Mr. Jitpun, and his question goes like this: to my understanding, most aviation leaders in Nepal don't have a formal aviation knowledge. Is this the reason why Nepal's safety record is poor?
Yes, Jit, Major Jit, of course, he's my follower. Major Jit, you pointed out the very genuine questions. Yes, most of the leaders from without very few exception, most of the leaders are from the business background, and they have a very low level of aviation. And if you poor knowledge is also sometimes dangerous in the context of Nepal. So leader from the non-aviator background have more bad connection with the aviation safety. So you really bring out the key issue of aviation leader in the context of Nepal.
Thank you, sir. Now, next question we have from Miss Ruchi Joshi. Her question goes you mentioned that only certain type of leadership is associated with safety in aviation sector. How much will it be applicable in other sectors like construction sites where workers are mere literate?
Yes, ma'am. Very nice questions. Safety leadership of different domain like banking, hospitals, and other sector also related with the safety climate of that organizations. So, in the developed country, their leadership is worried about the safety issues of their organization, but in Nepalese context, because of our economical background and our lack of knowledge about safety, um, our general organization is not so much bothered about the aviation safety. But you can take an example of drink and drive. Nepalese context now is almost forbidden, and the road traffic accident is decreased. So general and there is no horn policy and other issues are now slowly we are realizing a lot of safety issues in other sector also, like you can example of COVID, but somehow where violence is a mass movement, political party or something like that. So we are not fully concerned about the safety outside, but aviation somehow better. That's why aviation air transport is still safest mode of transport in Nepal and worldwide too. Compared to auto or road traffic accident, there are very few accidents as per the aviation context.
Thank you, sir. Next question we have is from Mr. Subhas Thapa. So this question
Yes.
may not be relevant much in this forum, but I think of aviation leadership, government negligence on aviation leadership is always and is not always accounted. No pilot or aeronautical engineer, nor experts or graduates are government invested. So he would like to hear your insight on this.
Please go ahead. The questions once again.
I think he would like to know whether the lack of aviation leadership in Nepal is due to negligence by the government, in which the government has not invested more in aviation experts, such as aeronautical engineers or other aero experts. Uh, is this the reason why the safety standard of Nepal is so low? So I hope I'm doing justice to Mr. Subhas's question. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I understand. Yes, the aviation organizations or aviation sector is not the focus point for Nepal government, and they never included government never included aviation contribution, aviation industries contribution in the total GDP. They just consider the transport sector, and there is no specific recognition for the aviation sector, and the aviation leadership also not suitable as per the aviation uh, environment. He is very true, and government is not giving the scholarship for the aeronautical aerospace engineering, and government is not facilitating for the pilot in a reputed organization. And if you recall the past, government sent a lot of pilots for scholarship in scholarship basis to recruit in the Nepal, and government is also sending a lot of engineers to various institutes to recruit in Nepal Airlines earlier during the era of King Mahendra. But later on, if you see the evolution of Nepal aviation industry, most of the evolution took place during the era of 1960 to 19 before the democratic period. A lot of mostly 90% of the airfield is designed and developed during that period. So present government is not giving more focus to make more leadership pilot or engineer in aviation sector. And yes, we have to bring this issue and we have to put forward. And if you take an example of Nepal Army, with our present Commander-in-Chief, Chief of the Army Staff, General Purna Chandra Thapa. He handed over a helicopter to Tribhuvan University for schools of aerospace engineering, and we are very helpful to make our aerospace graduate at a high level, and even we would like to share such a webinar or class or even other seminar in future too. So from Nepal Army side, we are more concerned to make new leadership, aviation leadership, but government side, I think it's lagging to support this field. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. So next question we have from Ms. Sudiksha Regmi. So she states that according to her own experience, leaders in different aviation sectors themselves are not motivated to improve because they think that's the way in Nepal. So this is the way we do things around here, mentality. How do we think that we can change that culture on an organizational level?
Yes, only the merit-based system can improve this, in my personal knowledge, because spoil system means recruiting the people with relative basis or something like that, recommendations cannot improve this issue. And just we all academic people know why the pass mark is 40%, because without doing, without, if you hear something, um, uh, you can tell about 40% up to date class without referring further. So the 40% is bottom line. So if anybody is working in organizations, his performance is decreasing, and other also will copy his style, and he also bringing his efficiency from 100 to 60%, and if that 60% goes 50%, that, and most of the aviation sector or even government sector, most of the employee is only performing 50% in Nepal. Nobody is performing 100% from his own capabilities. So I think aviation leader also compared to government and semi organization, private organization have a better output, but still performance is not good because they are not fully motivated towards their organization, because that is not mission friendly. And one of the co-pilot during my management mentioned that he is not happy at all, and sometimes he think about making the twin tower accident in Nepal like that. So he's not happy at all. But later he met an accident and he's no more with us. So uh, most of the employees are not motivated. That's why we need a permanent type of regulations from the government side. If private company is hiring his or her employee, uh, he have to give 80% compensation for another 2 years, like a developed country. Then only the employee are feel secure and they perform well. Of course, the government sector, they are more secure than private sector, but still they are not performing well because they are not fully motivated.
Okay, thank you, sir. Uh, so I think, Ms. Sudesh, I would like to add a little few points in this. So I think with what Ms. Sudeksha Regmi's question, I think we can link it also to the safety culture within the organization. I think, sir.
Yes, and cultural aspect is very difficult to change overnight. It takes some time, and there is we all academicians know about the learning, unlearning, and relearning, and
Mhm.
whatever we learn 1 hour, we need a 4 hour to forget it. So, like our pen drive, we can format it so quickly, quick scan, quick format. That is not possible in the context of human mind. So you can refer some article about learning, unlearning, and relearning. So I saw aviation organization more than 30 years. What I learned, what culture I learned, what cultural context I spent my 30 years. I think now I could not change myself completely to the new culture in my lifetime, because 1 hour of learning need 4 hour of unlearning process. What you learn 1 hour, it takes 4 hours to unlearn that process. So I is already spent 30 years. What I learned, I I need 30 plus 4 times more life is spent to forget. So um, we need to change the culture very slowly. That's why you see, we would like to change our culture from the revolution. Even our insurgent period, they are very against with the temple priest and others issues. We all know about these issues, but now they are started to worship in the temples. They are celebrating Dasera and other festival as usual. So it is very difficult to neglect our learning. And that's why cultural change is a slow process, but we have to develop safety culture, safety climate in our organization. I have given 7 dimensions of safety climate, and we have to improve all dimensions to achieve more safety level in our organization.
Mhm. Thank you, sir. So yes, we are in this. This is a serious issue indeed, and in line with that, we have another question from Mr. Suraj Koirala, and his question goes like this. So, in your opinion, what type of leadership style should the government of Nepal develop and implement in order to govern the Nepalese airlines to reduce the air accidents as well as provide air safe environments to the passengers?
First of all, government of Nepal need to be isolate the leadership from the ownership. Ownership, ownership and leadership is different. And do some of the leaders, what I found, they are just a positionship. I invested so many crore of rupees in my airlines. That's why I become a CEO. That is not correct. If I am not able to function my leadership qualities in my organization, then you can name me as a positionship. I am holding the position only. So in this context, we should understand what is positionship. So those investors who become a positionship rather than leadership qualities, then that is non-productive at all. So there are a lot of bankruptcy. And lady and gentlemen, do you know how many airlines evolved after 1990? And that means democratic period of Nepal. I think you are not aware of that. Without wasting time, more than 40 they have a UAC. More than 20 they vanish overnight, like a Nikon Airlines and other airlines, Cosmic Airlines. So many airlines collapse overnight. So why they collapse? Because investor become a positionship rather than leadership. So government of Nepal now, by making the concrete regulations, need to isolate ownership and leadership to achieve more safety. So if you are the investor of A Airlines or B Airlines, you should not be a CEO of that airlines. So independent, qualified CEO should be there for the organization, and there should be a concrete regulation for the employees for their career issues. And if there is a genuine issue, the organization can punish individual, but without no reason, hire and fire is not is acceptable at all in this era of 2020 or so on. So now we are also globally we are aware about others how they recruit and fire their employees. So government need to be isolate ownership and leadership. There should be a separate demarcation, first of all, and then government need to um, uh, um, uh, recommend the or appoint the suitable leader for the organizations. Even in the Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, I think now the government is changing the rules, and everybody who are qualified to go such higher post can compete. I think now the merit-based selection for Director General of Civil Aviation also will take place in the Nepalese context soon, and even Nepal Airlines and even other airlines, private airlines. Yes, I am an investor of airlines. That does not mean I am a leader. So I can invest, I can get the bonus, but I have to sit my home. I could not interfere to my airlines. So hopefully, slowly, I think we can see such regulation in Nepalese context, and all the issues will be solved.
Yeah, thank you, sir. In that chain of thought, I would like to ask you a question myself, because as you said, the government, I think the government has. So for now, not the government, but Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal in air operator certificate requirements, we have this position for accountable manager, right? So I would like to make it simplify this term in for all our participants who might not be familiar with it. See, the accountable manager is the person, as per safety management system principles, the person who has control of all the resources and who is going to be ultimately accountable in terms of legal actions. So we have this person already, this post or the this person. So we have all the roles and requirements needed to fulfill this post. So in that, with that being said, I would like to ask you, how can we make the leadership quality tangible to fill the accountable manager post, or how can we measure the leadership quality? Can it be measured?
Yes, leadership in this management context, we can't manage anything which is not measurable. Everything is managed. Everything can be measurable. Like measurement of anything is possible. For example, stress. If stress, some people say I am very stressful. So in stress measurement also, if your beloved wife death and you are in a stress position, they call you are a 100% stress. Your mom is considered as a 75% stress. Like there are a lot of tools. So in a leadership also, we can measure the quality of leader by making so many audit, how he perform. So uh, audit not only the technical audit of the individuals, how he behave, how he perform, how he function his organization during last 1 year can be measurable. So many tools are available, and we can develop such tool to measure the accountable leadership qualities. So uh, and we need to give some management leadership training in the context of airlines too, because without training, uh, it is not possible to develop the leadership qualities. So, like this webinar, we can dedicate some webinar for the accountable manager, how he can become a good accountable manager or leader. So, uh, it is a slow and steady process, and it will take some time. But individual level should be aware of his delivery, whether he is delivered 100% or it is below average. So the chief executive officers, chief operating officers, or himself need to be clearly um, time to time I have to read and review his performance. And there is one technique of reviewing and or checking the leadership qualities of accountable manager by bottom to top approach or 360 evaluation method. And I have participated one of the Eurocopter earlier. Now it becomes Airbus helicopter. I worked there for 6 months as an intern, and what during 6 months, my follower evaluated me 3 times, and they gave me a score. And there are a lot of tools. And in Nepal, if I ask you to give the feedback, and everybody will give 100% or something like that. So
Mhm.
in Nepalese context, the feedback measurement is also not possible. Our culture is different. We should not mention negative part. That is not true in the context of Europe. So it's again the culture of evaluation, and our culture is so rich in terms of power distance that we feel very bad if we comment the senior aged people. So we need to develop such culture, and we need to develop 360 level of bottom to top, top to bottom evaluation technique, and even the horizontal organizational branch manager or leader can interact and give the feedback in regular basis, can help to improve or monitor the leader in various level of the organization.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'll come to Mr. Mikis Powell's questions in a while. At first, I would like to address Mr. Binod Thapa's question because it comes flows with the previous question. So, I would also like to add a little bit on this. Sir, so this leadership quality or skill, you say, is this supposed to be self-initiated by the organization itself? Because it will be for the organization's benefit. As you stated, that we have had 20 plus airlines just come and go within the last couple of years, just like that. So if they had a good leadership quality, or they had a good CEO or CFO, or a good accountable executive or a manager, so who was a good leader, then those airlines could, we can say, maybe there were many other external factors as well for their disappearance, so they could survive. So by that being said, is that supposed to be initiated from the organization itself or from the BODs, or can the government step in, or the civil aviation authority step in and to develop any regulations, for good leadership? Or let's say we can have a qualification requirement or a audit requirement for the accountable executive or the leader also.
So uh, in the context of Nepal, most of the failure organizations reveal that they never accept their failure is an organization failure. They blame others. And I met so many past CEO of the failure airlines of Nepal. I interacted with them so many times, but they never accept their qualities of leadership. They just blame others. They transfer the blame to others, very level of the organization. So it's very hard to identify the root cause of the failures. But as a researchers, I found that whether they accept their failure as a leadership or not, most of the failure of the organization took place because of bad leadership qualities in the context of Nepal. And mostly the leadership are failed uh, to convince the higher authority, because most of the airlines after 1990, when the democracy is revealed and established in the country, most of the airlines came in the open sky policy in Nepal, and They came in the sky without prior preparation, without prior infrastructure, without prior homework. So, and who are going to do the homework? Even they never select the best aircraft for the sky. They never think about, and they purchase jet aircraft to operate within the 20 minutes of flight. Is it possible to operate 20 minutes jet aircraft uh, in terms of maintenance? No, because the high level of maintenance cost arises from the aircraft engine cycle and so many cycles. So at least 1 or 2 hours flight should be there for the jet airlines. But they purchase jet aircraft and they fail ultimately. They are not able to overhaul the engine which already due as per the cycle. So the Nepalese size of the country, Nepalese terrain also dictate which aircraft or technology is suitable for the Nepalese context. But our leadership of that time, they failed. And another is government is also not friendly during that era, and most of the aircraft failed because of fuel price. Take an example. Uh, the government did not increase the fuel price for the last 10, 15 years after the democracy. And when airlines operator asks government to raise the fuel price is increased, but seat price or the air ticket price is not increased is for the ratio of fuel price. And the flight ticket from Kathmandu to Viratnagar at that time was around 1200 rupees when the fuel price is 27 rupees and the fuel price reached 54 rupees and the ticket price is not increased to 1500 also and the same price. And when operator visited the minister and they just replied, oh, the government now we are just functioning well and we just bring democracy in the country and now we are not positioned to increase the ticket price. If we increase the ticket price, the reputation of the government will go negative to the society. So such feeling, and I should not mention the name of the minister. One minister, civil aviation minister, is fully convinced from the air operator, and he increased the price of the air ticket from 1200 to 1400 to 1700, something like that. And then most of the aircraft who are operating Kathmandu Viratnagar sector are in positive trend, but they suffer so much in the last 10 years without increase of the price, and that 6 month profit is not able to sustain their financial loss over the last 10 years and ultimately they collapse. That sort of research also I did in the context of Nepal. That's why our leadership should be very aviation friendly. He need to study the market and he need to facilitate, he need to support the operator, and he is not there, he or she is not there to just cancel the good proposal. So the leadership I am talking about, not only the organization, not only the CAN level, not only the civil aviation ministry level, or not only the council of minister level. So various level need to be very educated and they should understand the um, uh, difficulties of aviation. And in future, our leader will do some homework and they will support the aviator like one minister during the last, I don't know how many civil aviation minister work in our joint office of Nepalese context. But I don't want to mention one name, but one minister is really aviation friendly, and at that time most of the airlines are profitable during his tenure, almost 6 months, but they collapse because of their past heavy burden they already lost during their operation. Yes.
Mhm. Yes, sir. Now, I think we are coming to the end of our session. So we have a couple of questions left. So one from Mikes Powdell. So he would like to ask you, so how you see the job opportunities for Nepalese students in aerospace and aviation in defense or civil aviation sectors in the coming future? What are the job prospects?
Yes. So I just want to mention this issue to all new blood um, because now aviation business is not only limited in Nepal sky. We can go beyond, far beyond in this job opportunity. We can join Airbus, we can join Safran, we can join Boeing. And during my stay in France, at that time when I worked as an intern, middle manager or engineer in that Eurocopter. At that time, I understand and I met a lot of electrical, mechanical engineer working in Hamburg, Germany in Airbus. I met them and a lot of Nepalese, they joined, even electrical, mechanical are there. Only the we have to search our job posture and in Nepal, we have a very limited market. So our aerospace graduate need to be very careful about the Nepalese market saturation. And there are a lot of hope. And we are the number A grade technical people and lot of market are there in the Airbus, Boeing, and others. You have to seek their job site, and um, you can prepare the very sound your CV and you apply, and they will recruit you. And even you can join Nepalese Army. We have also a deficit of aeronautical engineers and yearly 3-4 engineers we are hiring, and you can join Nepal Airlines, you can join other commercial airlines. So future of aerospace engineer in Nepal is very high. And if you talk about me, I'm presently chief engineer of Nepalese Army Aviation. Completed my 35 years of my army officer training um, job and 30 years in aviation sector. And even after my PhD graduation, my role, my job avenues already started. And after my retirement from the army, I can join in the reputed organization, even in the ICAO, even Airbus, even Safran. Joining any company is not a great issue. Making yourself brilliant, qualified, multi-dimensional is more important. All the best. I don't know all of us who all are the new blood who are under aerospace course in our Pulchok Engineering College. I don't know now, but I just if you are participated, you just mention your friend that your future is very bright and you can work in Nepalese Sky and even you can go abroad and you can go abroad and you can come back and work in Nepalese Sky. Your future is very high and demanding.
Thank you, sir. So, with that being said, I would like to request Mr. Mikes Paurel, all the participants, and our active viewers for questions like this about the future in aerospace and aviation, or the job opportunities or academic purposes. You can reach out to our society, Aeronautical Society, and our active members of the society will help you guide uh, through this. And I guess we are at the end. I don't think we have any more questions. There are a couple of questions about the investigation reports, previous investigation reports, I guess, that have been answered by our member Binod Thapa. Uh, so yeah, so to all the participants, if you have any questions, so this is the time. Otherwise, we're gonna call it a day for now. So we are taking any last questions. Mm, and I guess that's it for now. So thank you very much, Dipak sir, for your wonderful and insightful presentation on the relationship between leadership and safety in the Nepalese aviation sector. So this is a very insightful presentation you have, and all our aspiring, aviation experts, soon to be maybe CEOs of our own companies, or whether we can go and work in any other fields, we can implement all of these and we can aspire to become a good leader. Uh, yeah, in our lives, so that it is
Yes,
going to be helpful for our organization as well as for all the other people involved, as well as for the nation itself. So yeah, and that being said, I'd like to request all our viewers and all our participants to join in to the Aeronautical Society of Nepal if you have not already, because if you become a member, we're going to have similar programs, uh, webinars, and as a member, you can have the access to all the presentations and the recordings of the seminars as well. Uh, so with that being said, yeah, I'd
I,
like
I,
to thank.
I just
Yes, sir.
want to mention my remark. I would like to thanks Engineer Ashish Manandar, President of the Aeronautical Society of Nepal, Engineer Vasav Sharma, and Engineer Bikalpa Gurung for their hard contribution for this webinar and the opportunity you gave me to conduct such a wonderful webinar. And the question itself is the um, backbone of this webinar, and a lot of issues we discuss, even more than our presentations. A lot of issues covered because of your participation and questions. So I would like to thank all the participants, all the aerospace students, for this wonderful session. And you also teach me a lot. I also learn a lot from your questions, and I hope I am able to answer your queries. And you can get my email in my presentation in the last slide. You can write to me any issues of aeronautics and management, aerospace management, and even the job. Yeah, also I can recommend or something. I'm always dedicated myself for the aviation industry of Nepal. So thank you very much. Once again, thank you for organizer, and the participant. Thank you. And I also like to thank Nepalese Army for this opportunity as a government servant, and that is also from the Army. Uh, I have taken permission from the Chief of the Army Staff, and I am grateful to our Chief General Punachandra Thapa and entire Nepalese Army family, and especially Army Aviation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bastola sir, from